Hey there, Nolen and Jason here with HVAC Webmasters.
Howdy.
So today's title is Eating Ramen Under a Bridge for HVAC SEO in 2024. I have a couple of things we could do about this.
And now everybody watching this is like, what?
So that was my comment to someone.
Yeah.
They called me. So somebody called me, not going to name names, obviously, but someone had called and said, I'll get this sometimes because it's weird how people think. In fact, I had a lead like this yesterday. I told you somebody called and said, I just need a website. And, and he boasted, it's an ego thing, really.
Yeah.
It's like, I just need a website. Does that make sense? I was like, well, not really. Can you explain it a little further? It's like, we make websites, yes. He said, well, that's all I need. And I said, so you don't want to show up on Google? He said, well, I wouldn't mind. He said, but I do this other stuff. I don't need as much. I just want to get good conversion. I was like, well, how can you get good conversion with just a good website? And he said,
how can you get good conversion if nobody finds you in the first place?
Well, if he was already dealing with someone, they might convert, but people won't convert without a good brand. And that's a good brand versus conversion. We'll do that one. But anyway, so I was talking to this potential client, and you know who it is. And they were boasting about how they got their website done for cheap by this guy. Really cheap. I'm talking like $150 or something a month.
Less than.
Was it less than that? So less than $100 a month.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, are they from a developing nation? And that's me being nice, by the way.
Yeah.
That's me learning new.
That's Nolen being PC.
Yeah, that's me being politically correct because I stopped using third world country. Yeah. So, and truly, I think you could stop that. Some of these nations are going to be juggernauts and coming up and beat us financially, possibly. But anyway, so I'm like, oh, are you using someone from a developing nation? She said no, and I said, well, that's odd. You pay that much? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, and you really like this site, huh? And I'll start baiting her a little bit on it. And I'm like, well, yeah. I was like, well, what's wrong then? And she's like, well, what do you mean? I was like, well, you're calling us. Must be a problem. Yeah. And she's like, well, it's not working very well. I said, probably because you're paying some guy so little that he's eating ramen under a bridge in Dallas, Texas. and she's like, what? I'm like, yeah, I said, that's not anything to boast about. I said, it's nothing to boast about that the guy gets paid so little. He said, well, he
can't possibly do enough work to make your website effective.
In fact, it was so bad, Jason, that she had called us.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, the site literally doesn't work. And I was like, and by the way,
just to be clear, when we say doesn't work, we mean it's not effective in growing your business.
It's not optimizable. It wasn't optimizing.
You could go to the site, and if you clicked a button, it went to the page you wanted. It worked in that sense, but that doesn't really mean it works. That means it functions. And there's a difference between function and working.
And it functioned horribly. It functioned so horribly that she called.
Yeah.
And then I believe got offended at the fact that I said, oh, well, he must be eating ramen under a bridge.
Yeah, she was unhappy. Because I took that call.
Yeah. But seriously, I mean, if somebody's getting like $89 a month and they built a website, and she said, well, he does a really good job for me. I said, well, I know one thing about him. She's like, what? He's a god-awful businessman. And I would never disrespect myself to that case or eat ramen under a bridge just so you can get a good deal.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how the hell the guy's living. So, but the bigger picture.
He might be a nice guy.
I don't know. I'm way past that. I don't give a shit who he is. I give two shits who he is. Don't care. He'll learn eventually, or he'll be eating ramen under a bridge forever. Forever. Yeah. So one thing, if I had to have a message for this for people, is there's no joy in that for anybody,
Right.
The fact that the individual that was a temporary client of ours, because couldn't get over the ramen comment, evidently. And it wasn't, that was like a tough love deal. It's like, okay, let's break this down really, what's happening. I was really just trying to explain it pretty quickly, not knowing somebody, right? It's like, okay, let's stop really fast here and view this whole thing from above.
Right.
It's like, you actually called. The site's actually bad. The fact that the guy works for that and does that is actually sad. And the fact that you only pay that much gave you cruddy product.
Right.
That then instigated this phone call.
That you're happy with only because it was so cheap.
Right. I did so well. It's like a Dr. Evil, HVAC Evil. Like, look at what I got away with. It's like, no, you didn't get away with anything. You just got this really cheap product that had you call and you're happy about it for some reason. I don't know why. But Google wants well done branded efforts. They want to see good signaling. They want to see it well put together. I mean, this site was like, it had keyword stuffed metas, if I remember, or the H1s. Do you remember all that? Yeah. It was all stuffed up and all messed up and AI content and all this trash. And it was a horrible, horrible website that was performing poorly. Nolan Walker here for DataPins. You may not know, but I own a software company and we have a proprietary software called DataPins, DATAPINS. You can search it at datapins.com. This is not white labeled. I actually own this piece of software and I made it for you. It was made for contractors. You can actually take pictures of jobs, up to 6, make a caption about the material, the brand, the situation, the repairs, and post that back to your individual pages on your website, just like that. It's super simple. Anyone could use it. It also texts and emails your clients direct links to your reviews, so it helps reputation and reviews, which helps conversion and map placement. The geo coordinate gets grabbed by DataPins and Google can tell where you are. So instead of them just seeing reviews, they see all jobs or even estimates that you do. This vastly outperforms just getting reviews. Helps the map show up, helps organic keywords. And remember, those captions that you're putting in there help expand the keywords per page, and it's great regular content. I love it. We made it just for you. It is organic optimization on steroids for both your website, your rankings, and the map placement. Check out DataPins. I think you'll be happy you did. But if you do this sort of stuff and you start looking at everything, a lot of people like try to put together a website. And I honestly, like, if stuff like this could be done. Now, I don't know. Would I pay people so little? Yeah, maybe. Yeah. People in a developing nation could work for you. Actually, we've tried it before.
We've done it back when it worked.
So, well, it never worked. The developing nation workers never worked as well as an American worker.
I didn't necessarily mean they worked. I meant just slamming in tons of content.
Right. At very least, let me say this so I don't bash all developing nations. It's like at very least we were unable to manage that process.
Right.
Yeah. So and the work that we saw was poor quality. But if we could have taken as a company trying to produce something for our American clients and outsourced, or even outsourced to the point that this lady did in America, and then get it so cheap that we were able to pull down costs, which were a good deal, by the way. Yeah. We're a really good deal on everything that we do.
Probably the best deal.
I believe so.
Value per dollar.
But you can't do it for that amount. But had we been able to, and we actually tried over and over again.
Yeah, we've tried many times. How can we reduce costs so that we can reduce prices?
I always joke about it, but there was one particular country that we would call when we tried this, and there was always a rooster crowing in the background. No matter what.
Yeah.
Not the same person, on a different island entirely.
Yeah.
And a rooster would be crowing, which makes sense, right? I mean, free eggs, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
well, not from a rooster.
Good nutrition. True. Gotta have the rooster around, though.
Yeah, that's right.
So, anyway, yeah, so we've tried all this before and it didn't work. So we have a professional crew and services, and then you actually, if you're gonna do well in business, you focus on the marketing, and then Google wants to see a digital branded presence, and they want to see that, okay, this is a really well done website. It's not too little, not too much, decent content. They're sending in quality, regular branded signaling. This site was busted up, broken up, stuffed up, spammed up. You know, all those things. As it should have been, by the way, because the poor guy has to have enough money left over to eat the ramen. He'd probably get even off-brand ramen. You know what I'm talking about?
Getting the cheap ramen.
Not even the good ramen.
Not even the good.
The stuff that definitely doesn't digest in the intestinal tract.
Yeah. I mean, it's. I get that it's tempting to see this person says I'll build your website for this amount and this guy over here. Oh, I'll do it for almost nothing.
Right.
And it's tempting to say, oh, well, they're both websites, so I'm going to get the cheap one. but there's a limit to how cheap you can go. If you can find somebody who will admit to buying a Yugo car in the 80s, ask them about the deal they got.
It's actually not
probably nobody even knows.
It's not a dumb thing to do, really. I don't find it to be illogical. So if somebody's starting out with an HVAC business,
if you're new to it,
and someone is charging $89 a month, and somebody else charges, I've heard people charging like $10,000 or something insane.
Yeah.
And why would you not try the cheaper one to begin with?
Yeah.
But once it doesn't work, and you're aware it doesn't work, and the fact that it doesn't work.
Yeah, once you're making a phone call because it doesn't work, then you have to go, okay,
it's time to step back.
$89 a month isn't, or whatever it was.
Something went horribly wrong. Yeah. So something went wrong. I don't want to do, not that there's anything wrong with home warranty work, but I don't want to do that anymore. And I want to get my own retail jobs. And what might Google want?
Right.
What might they want? What could I get help with when I call? It's always, I never mind, by the way. I always love a phone call, and I don't feel like I've gotten overly jaded. I don't feel like it's too much, but it's comical on some level doing this for, it's 15 years clean at this point. We have a digital marketing agencies, we have software companies, and then somebody will call up and like dictate, sell me or boast.
Yeah.
And then they'll make comments, does that make sense?
And it's the same comments you've been hearing for all 15 of those years.
Yeah, and they'll say, does that make sense? And almost always people will say, well, yeah, I get it. And I'll say, no, that absolutely makes no sense whatsoever. And I'm going to explain to you why that makes no sense. So someone will say, well, does that make sense? I always tell people, like, we're Texas respectful and Texas straightforward. I call bullshit where I see it.
Yeah.
Always will.
Does that make sense is a triggering phrase for
because it's something that they know doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And they're trying to get
it's something we've been hearing for years. We've been hearing someone say something nonsensical to us and then say, does that make sense?
Because they know it doesn't make sense, but it's a platitude that people are used to. And
they're trying to get you to approve of their nonsense.
Most
basically.
people in society will agree with you when you say that, except me. I have learned not to say, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like, no, that makes no sense whatsoever. Hey there, guys. Nolan Walker here for HVAC Webmasters. Glad you're listening to the podcast, but I'd like you to become a client. We're a digital marketing agency that have done this for 12 years. I don't think there's anybody better than us at this point in time. We will help you with your design, your code, your content, showing up as high as we can on Google ranking, your organic ranking, your map ranking, your reputation, your reviews. Our digital marketing agency will help you be the best possible online. We can help you with all of it, even paid. We even have a software company called DataPins that's proprietary. We made it for you guys. You can take 90 seconds and do a pin on each job. We call them data pins, and it'll grab the geo coordinate where you're located. It looks like a little red pin drop, but to Google it looks like a digital hand raise. This helps them see where you're working. So if someone doesn't give you a review, they've got this with photos of the job that count as unique content and a caption. Let's say it's Linux air handler replacement with Linux M30 Wi-Fi thermostat. This is additional content that's literally going to drop on the individual service and city pages on the website and expand your keyword search ability. It's crazy how cool DataPins is, combined with the SEO and digital marketing agency services of HVAC Webmasters.com. Guys, check us out. We'd love to hear from you. So you have to be careful about AI content. You have to be careful about trashed up stuff. The algorithm, and it isn't even my judgment or Jason's judgment or any of that stuff. We don't really ultimately care. Like
if stuffing an H1 worked, we would be stuffing every H1 on every site to the gills.
Right.
Because it worked.
If
we do what works.
If we could get the sites built for $5 and a plastic water bottle and a rooster crowing, I'd give it to. We do it. Yeah, but Google's algorithm can tell that it's bad quality. They can tell that it's poor code base. They can tell that they've slopped in AI content. Yes, that'll cause a penalty most of the time. But yeah, they can tell all of that stuff. And so you try to get a little bit better stuff. And we not only do we have the agency, now we have SaaS software. You can hook up with us to get data pin signaling. I think I can safely say that there's a certain percentage of the digital marketing market that uses that as a verb now, to like a data pen, and we actually coined it and trademarked it.
Yeah.
So we actually built the software and produce the signal. And that's phenomenal digital branded signaling, but you still can't, you can, but you shouldn't place it upon trash.
Yeah.
It's like, putting truffle oil in the ramen does not make it a gourmet dish.
Now I'm picturing this guy with this bottle of truffle oil.
She raised me to 101.
No, he's
I've got a bottle of
restaurant dumpster.
Right, truffle oil.
There's 3 drops in, and
it's a joke though, by the way, because if you ever watch these guys, not that I have hardly ever eaten a truffle, but they hate truffle oil because people don't know what they're doing with
all
food.
the chefs.
They can't, because it's just it's a fake flavor enhancer.
Yeah.
So they
also people who you don't need much truffle to get flavor.
I guess.
I like mushrooms, so I've eaten them before. And truffle oil, people will just like take it all over, and it's like you need like maybe a drop.
But they don't like truffle oil.
Yeah, but they don't like it.
Yeah, I watched it. But yeah, so all this stuff you should take care of your web effort from start to finish.
Yeah.
If you add something high quality like a piece of software like DataPins and start pinning your jobs and doing DataPins, then it's better than nothing. But the algorithm's smart enough to still tell that the website's not a good user experience.
Right.
And that's why it's worth it to try to work on the brand and all that stuff. And then, of course, we have some new stuff like Field360.ai, which is fabulous. I won't go into detail on that if you're looking for field office software, and we wrap your marketing and field office experience all together for extremely good deals.
Yes, very.
Yeah. I don't know if I have any other stuff. That one came off a little different than I wanted it to entirely, but
I think we made the point.
It is true. This happens. It happens a lot, and you don't want to be this person who glorifies and boasts and about poor quality work.
It's great getting a deal, but like I said, there's a limit. There's a point at which a deal is no longer a deal.
I think a good explanation of this would be like if you had gone to somebody's house as an HVAC contractor and somebody before you had gotten onto Craigslist to find an HVAC contractor that butchered the install of the HVAC system, AC system, and then while you're out there fixing it and looking at this shamble of a mess of an HVAC system, they're boasting about how cheap it was to put in.
Can you just patch it or put some more Freon in?
Right.
That's all you need to do, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, look at this thing. I got it so cheap. I got it so cheap. The guy did it for, a drop of fentanyl. It's like, he did it for nothing. It's like, it was awesome. Yeah.
I would say, no, actually, that's expensive, but I don't want anybody getting the idea that I know how much that would cost.
Yeah, see him like coming over and like, I got a whole case of ramen for you. It's like, come on over. Bring the duct tape. Let's fix this bitch.
Yeah.
And then you're like, what is this? They're like, well, it's my HVAC system. Please, does that make sense?
And it's like a fan with an igloo cooler full of ice. Yeah.
Yeah. The guy with fentanyl blowing the forced air into the house. Like, he just stays there.
Good God.
He's our forced air system. So does that make sense? So they're like, no, that doesn't make sense at all.
Not at all. Not at all.
This is horrible. What's going on here? Yeah, the HVAC guy, the difference is he runs. He actually doesn't show up to the job and runs.
Yeah.
It's like, and then when he gets the bill, it's like, oh, here's the bill for a proper HVAC. I was like, this is insane. I only have 3 cases of ramen for this job.
My budget is 3 cases of ramen.
My budget is this. Like, take it or leave it. I got some natural light too. I mean, that was only if I had to use it, but that was mine.
That's your bonus.
That's your bonus.
Your tip, the natty light.
The natty light. That's a good analogy, though.
It is. It's a great one.
It's the same exact thing. So people don't think I'm being too rough about it.
Yeah.
It's literally the same thing. It's like, look at this deal. I got this off of Craigslist. It's great. He did it for a case of ramen and 5 natty lights. Some Mickey's Big Mouth. This guy did a little extra work, but I had to throw in the Mad Dog, so I did what I could.
Oh,
yeah. I was like, I don't drink, but anyway, I'm obviously used to it. There you go. Too much information. All right. But yeah, guys, like and subscribe. I will say this about it. I'm happy to discuss anything. Our staff will help you with everything.
Right.
And we actually care enough to actually get, what you wouldn't want is me not to get irritated about this kind of stuff. Because then
we care enough to tell you that's a bad idea.
Right.
We don't just say, yes to
Jason,
everything.
I don't think they can appreciate how valuable that is.
Yeah.
So what you end up with is some poor schlep somewhere between ramen and craft brew. So I don't care if it's the fancy guy with the craft brew and Deep Ellum, or if it's the guy eating the ramen under the bridge and Stop 6 or something. I don't know, whatever, right? I don't know all my neighborhoods that well. But anyway, so I don't care who it is in between. Most, if not, I'm going to say 95% of the people that you would contact will just say, does that make sense? Yes. How much are you willing to pay? I'll pay that to you. So as you trip over yourself and you say, well, I'd like to add 5 blogs a day on ChatGPT, and they're like, absolutely, we can do that.
I can do that. That's no problem.
Now that'll add, thousands into your bills. Like, well, I don't care, make it happen. And they won't say anything to you. Take your money, whether it's a little bit or a lot, and will not tell you, guide you, help you. And that in and of itself is an invaluable. That's one of the main problems with our industry, by the way. A bunch of weak backbone web geeks on some varying degrees of service providing poor services because somebody asked for it or demanded it.
Yeah, give them whatever they want.
Get them whatever they want.
Yeah.
And then it gets dictated out and you get a bad job of it. But yeah.
And don't get us wrong. We'll give you what you want, provided it doesn't hurt you.
We stop at the point that it hurts the client.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then people, when we give all that we know how and can. And then our job is to get somebody up in rankings. And then if somebody has a question or makes a statement about something, we'll explain why it is good or bad.
Right.
And then help guide them. I mean, that's our job, really, to do that. So we can evaluate websites, look at it, work for you, answer questions. If other people have told you stuff in the industry, a lot of it we don't debunk here on these podcasts, by the way, on these videos. So love to be of service and can help you with everything from field office software and integration of that into excellence of organic optimization. And we didn't really go into that. We've been talking about organic optimization the whole time.
That's what all this is about. Yeah.
About your map rankings, reputation reviews, your keyword rankings, your ability for Google to like your brand to show up for roughly the 75% of search that's free on there.
Yeah.
Free, I guess, right? So, yeah.
Free in big quotes.
All right, guys. We'll see you next time.
Take it easy.